Alexander III was the greatest general of the ancient world. He was a brilliant military strategist who had never suffered a defeat in any battle. Alexander dreamed of a universal empire founded on Greek education and built on multicultural traditions. An empire that radiated military might, strong administrative setup, tolerance and science. During the early stages of Western civilization, the Macedonian king undertook a global geopolitical experiment. Alexander the Great was born in 356 BC in Pella, an ancient Greek city, and died in 323 BC in Babylon. In his 33 years he conquered ancient Greece, Asia Minor, Egypt and the Persian Empire, advancing victoriously as far as the Indies. King Alexander the Great received his education from the renowned philosopher Aristotle under the guidance of his father, Philip II. This education helped him develop his natural inclination for leadership into a broader vision for humanity, inspired by the heroic tales of the Iliad, the teachings of philosophy, and a tolerance for diverse cultures and peoples of the East. Plutarch writes that Alexander was both courageous and diligent. He pushed himself to embody virtue and encouraged others to do the same. His wealthy and prideful friends, who desired a life of ease, grew increasingly upset with his adventures and campaigns, eventually cursing and slandering him. Alexander initially responded calmly to the criticism, stating that it's typical for a king to be slandered, mainly when he does favours. However, the many slanders eventually made him cruel, as they found a way to make the true ones believable. He became cruel and inflexible when slandered for loving glory more than life and kingdom. This fact led to a moral crisis during his reign, and he turned against his companions several times. Alexander inherited the Macedonian kingship from his father, including resources and military strategy to maintain his rule. Philip learned the loxy-phalange battle tactic or oblique order from the leader of the Thebans, Epaminondas. This tactic involves strengthening one end of the military formation to break the defence of the corresponding side of the enemy troops, followed by a circular motion. Alexander improved this strategy by utilising his agile and powerful cavalry to break the opposing line. He also utilised the Macedonian phalanx, consisting of 16x16 rows of fighters holding long spears up to 5.5 metres in length. Despite being heavily armed, the phalanx was not very agile. Alexander often used the phalanx to trap enemy forces before breaking through with the oblique order led by the cavalry. Alexander was a skilled military leader and envisioned creating a universal empire with a unified administrative structure, a standardized tax system and a common currency. He did not replace the leaders of the administrative formations he conquered, but strengthened them. He showed great respect for the religious customs and traditions of the Eastern people. After conquering lands, he took brides from those regions and joined his Greek companions with them. Experts in various fields such as history, art, philosophy, geography, botany and zoology accompanied the army during each campaign. Alexander of the Greeks, Iskander of the Arabs, and Alexander the Great of the whole world were turning points in human history. The legend of Alexander the Great is still deeply ingrained in the traditions of the Mediterranean and the East. In Greece, grandparents passed down the story of Alexander's sister, who transformed into a mermaid, and sailors are known to inquire about the king's well-being to this day. 2,200 years after his death, a Greek writer, Andreas Kalkavitsas, writes in his work, Mermaid, "Nowadays, my lady," I answered without thinking, "Nowadays, King Alexander, not even his soil." Alas, too bad I got it. The thousand-figured daughter became a formidable figure. Cyclops came out of the wave and showed half of his body covered in scales. Live serpents with silken hair rose forward, stuck out their tongues and venomous stings, and poured out a terrifying blast of wind. "No, madam, I am lying. Sailor, is King Alexander alive?" "He lives and reigns," I answered immediately. "He lives, reigns, and dominates the world. Listen to my words carefully." As if my voice had poured immortal water into her veins, the monster immediately changed, and she shone again as a virgin with a thousand-faced form. She lifted her livid hand from the banister and smiled, spreading rose petals from her lips. And suddenly a song of war broke out in the all-purple air, as if the Macedonian army were now returning from the lands of the Ganges and the Euphrates. He lives, reigns and dominates the world.